Hi there, everyone. So happy to be with y'all. And this Canadian down in North Carolina saying y'all. Yeah, I'm being trained. So let me ask you something. Have you noticed uh, that you don't sleep all the way through the night? Maybe you get up to go pee, maybe you toss and turn. Have you noticed sometimes it's really hard to get to sleep, but you don't know why, or hard to fall back asleep if you wake up? Or sometimes do you have it that it's really difficult to get up in the morning? Maybe even getting, the optimal amount of sleep is not working for you. Well, I want to share with you that I used to run the largest holistic clinic in Canada. It's an integrative clinic. It used to be called the Vital You. It doesn't exist anymore, but I ran it for 12 years. And then I got into the laws of physics and psychoneuroimmunology and all of these beautiful aspects of our emotional, spiritual, and thriving ways of being. And what was really interesting is that I found there are some impacts on our ability to have energy. And one of the major things that has an impact is your sleep. And in fact, most people think, well, if I could just get more sleep, I could have more energy. But I'm here to tell you that you can actually have more energy on less sleep, but you need to know some stuff. Okay. So for me, and actually my sweetie Adam, we had to go on quite the journey about sleep. I would consider us sleep experts at this point. For me, it's more about understanding the environment that you sleep in. It's about certainly understanding some things about your biology, which I was shocked and surprised at, which I'll share about today. There are some unknown things, things that are unknown to most people, that if you actually knew about them and could address them, your sleep would almost get instantaneously better when it comes to your physical or biological well-being. So we'll talk about some of those things. And finally, the thing that's most near and dear to my heart and changed my life was the idea that most people are surviving. They're basically pushing their life, trying really hard, forcing things to happen, trying to gain control so that they can survive. When in actuality, there is an entire operating system that most people don't hook into because they don't understand the laws of physics. And what ends up happening is they live the rest of their life just barely getting by, or getting by pretty well, but they're constantly stressed. And it's of huge detriment to their physiology, to their marriage, to their relationship, to all of these things. I wonder what would happen if you had all the tools to be able to know that everything you need was coming to you. What if you didn't need to change your circumstances? What if literally the laws of physics said that if you were operating in a thriving operating system and everything come to you, the stress would go down to probably 10% of what it is right now, because you could rely on your life. So that's what we're going to talk about today. 3 aspects: the environment, your physiology, and of course, how the mind works and the laws of physics. Come on now. So, you guys, welcome everybody that's here. I'm so happy that you're here. And let's talk about it. So, first and foremost, I just want to share that why this topic matters. It matters because, as I said, it affects your relationships, it affects your marriage, it affects your relationship with your colleagues. Not having enough energy and also feeling like you're not getting enough sleep is a major problem. So I started developing about 4 years ago. My husband, however, had had sleep issues for a really long time. So we were always investigating and looking at how we could do things. And then about 4 years ago, my sleep started going off. And I noticed I thought it was the sleep that was affecting my memory and my thinking, and it wasn't. It was something else, which I will get to in a second. I think most of you know that you want really deep sleep because that's what's restorative. One of the things I want to say about restorative sleep, however, is the amount of restorative sleep depends completely upon the amount of resistance, forcing, control, and lack of flow you have in your life. So the more you force, cajole, manipulate life, try to bend it to your will, make life a wrestling match, the more resistance you're actually having, and the more you'll need to recover, and therefore the more REM you're going to need. So today is just as much, especially when we talk about the emotional component and the laws of physics. What are some of the tools? Now, there's no way we're going to be able to talk about that. I mean, we do a whole workshop about getting into the thriving operating system so that everything comes to you. So right now, we're going to give you a few key tools that you can try. And I bet you already you will be able to start to see some difference. This journey that I went on, I wanted to, I was looking at my friend Jeannie, who, when we would take people on retreat in the Wide Awakening, she would get up, she'd have more energy than anyone I've ever seen on like 3.5, 4 hour sleep. And I'm like, I want that. And then I was also friends with a scientist who was so in his area of genius. He only slept 3.5 hours as well, was one of the smartest people I ever met, had more energy than anyone I've ever met in my life consistently. I mean, he was consistently having 3.5, 4 hours sleep and more energy than anyone I'd ever met. So I have been exposed to people that were able to accomplish this. And I'm like, how do I do that? I want to be able to be creative more hours. I want to be able to have more spaciousness in my day. What about you? You're probably thinking the same thing, right? Like, oh my God, I want that. So glad to see everyone who's joining us, and so happy you're here. All right. So how do you do this, puppy? So I call this my sleep to energy ratio hacking journey, right? So, all right, next is, let's do a little bit of awareness training here on how it all works. So, to understand, there are 3 different aspects we're going to address again: the emotional, the physical. The emotional, we're going to include the laws of physics, because once we understand the laws of physics, then we don't need to work so hard to try to control life. I'm going to save that one for last. We're going to work on first the physical. Now, the physical aspects of your ability to get more rest and feel more rejuvenated when you get up. Hopefully you guys are like me, and like, if you could sleep 4 or 5 hours and feel more rejuvenated than you do now on 7 or 8 hours, or some of you might not even be having 7 or 8 hours, some of this job will be just get you to sleep. So first and foremost, I want to talk about the physical. There's a study that was done in North America, and it said that 5 out of 7 patients with Hashimoto's, for instance, with thyroiditis, had the characteristics of apnea. Now, you probably don't know what Hashimoto's is, or maybe you do, but it's the most, in my estimation, the most underdiagnosed health issue in North America. It's where your body has an autoimmune reaction against your thyroid, and you have all the thyroid symptoms, but you have zero of the blood levels that the doctors are looking for. And even when you tell the doctor you have all the symptoms, they don't even think to do the tests for the antibodies called TPO for thyroiditis. So, physically speaking, your thyroid can be off. So, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to go through 5 of the major symptoms of your thyroid being off. And then you get to start exploring with your doctor what you can do about that. It's not so much that any one of these would be the issue, but the problem would be if you had all 5 of them. One is you don't, so just do check marks and see which ones you have. One is that maybe you find that your hands or feet might be a little bit on the cold side. Second is that your sleep is not as good as it used to be. Third is that your concentration is not great, or your memory isn't great, or you get a little bit of brain fog. Fourth is that you actually notice that without creams or without lotions, that your skin can be dry. Fifth is that your energy is low. We could go down to the sixth, which is your metabolism is a little bit off. We could go to a seventh and say that your hair is falling out more than you think it should. And you could explain all these things to age, or if you're a woman, menopause, or whatever the case may be. But I promise you that for most people, it's a shock when they go and test their TPO score in their blood test. And you might even want to test your TSH and see if it's a little bit on the high side, thyroid stimulating hormone, because your TSH sort of pushes your thyroid to produce more because your body is inflamed and you're not utilizing your thyroid hormone. So that's the first thing I want to say. The second thing that could be happening in your body is that you are overstimulated. So there are foods that actually cause you not to be able to sleep, even if you eat them in the morning, and you would think that they would be gone. And they're all the chocolate, anything with caffeine in it. Even decaffeinated coffee still has 30% of the caffeine. Most people don't realize that. So when you stimulate your nervous system with foods like that, not to mention foods that you might be sensitive to, so you might have a dairy issue, which is the number one most inflammatory food in all studies. Dairy can also cause inflammation, which can cause overstimulation, which can also cause an autoimmune disease, never mind. So, or foods like it, not just dairy, of course. And so the thing is that if you're eating the foods that overstimulate you, it's going to be very difficult to sleep at night. Remembering also that cigarettes are filled with nicotine that overstimulates. So if you happen to smoke, you might want to stop smoking quite a bit earlier. So the nervous system can be involved. And your adrenals can be involved. So the last that I want to bring into this is actually the adrenals. So how you know physically that your adrenals are actually affecting your sleep, usually related to stress, is that you tend to be a little bit negative about your life, find it difficult to have motivation. You have neck, shoulder tension. And you may also find that you're reactive instead of in your joyous, normal, personality that you remember yourself to be. And so these are some of the issues that are related to the adrenals. All of these things can affect your sleep. And I mentioned earlier, food sensitivities can definitely affect your sleep. Finally, eating too late can affect your sleep as well. So not because necessarily that the food itself is affecting it, although in the case of stimulants, it can definitely affect sleep, but actually because we're looking at your circadian rhythm when it comes to sleep, and eating is not part of sleep cycles. Eating before you go to sleep is not helpful because it's telling your body that you still want to be up. So leaving a couple of hours before you go to sleep is really important. Next is, I want to talk about your environment. But remember, the last thing we're going to talk about is probably the most important thing, which is about the emotional relationship to life that you have, and some tools and some understandings of physics to transcend stress. But first, let's talk about your environment. One of the most important things to understand is the whole idea, in the NIH in the UK actually did a study on light and darkness and diurnal patterns, as well as the circadian rhythm. And what they found is that the hypothalamus has a negative reaction when it comes to sleep when you don't go to sleep at the same time at night, B, you actually do not, you leave lights on really bright within an hour or so, half hour really, of going to sleep. So you want to make sure that the lights in your place are dimmed. And absolutely, you do not want to do anything that requires your brain power, like doing any kind of work within an hour of going to sleep. That definitely, just like eating, it tells your body that you're interested in keeping on. So, of course, this doesn't take into account some of my issues, like I didn't realize that I was allergic to feathers. And that actually was giving me headaches in the morning. So I eliminated all the feathers from now hotel rooms and everywhere. And that probably was 50% of the problem. But the other issue is that my body was inflamed from that as well. And it probably didn't help with the Hashimoto's that I have. That is getting better because of some of the things that I'm talking to you about today. So really important that you do not have lights on really bright before you go to sleep. Start dimming all your lights. And you can watch something funny on TV, just nothing that requires your brain's engagement. But let's talk about the last thing. And I just want to see how everyone's doing here. So guys, here's the last piece. The last piece is about stress. It's about not just stress, because you know what to do for stress. You need to take more time walking in nature. You need to do, you could look this up anywhere online. You could do, meditation. What I want to talk about is having a permanent cellular behavioral shift in the way that you relate to life, such that your default way of being is no longer overwhelmed, stressed out, pushing, or trying to be in control. And this takes a little bit of mastery, and I think it's worth pursuing. So, in a survey by the APA in 2013, they found that stress interferes with over 50% of North American sleep, and I'm sure that's true all over the world. But let me talk about stress in terms of how we relate to it at The Wide Awakening. Stress is the difference between what you wish was and what actually is. And to the degree that you judge the difference between what you wish could be in your life and then what isn't, that tells you the degree to which you will be stressed out. So another way of saying that is the more attached to what you wish would be you are, the dissonance actually causes you stress, right? And then there's also other kinds of stress. There are stressors like the past and something that weighs on your nervous system. But even there, you're wishing for something not to be that is. And if we simplify stress down to this, the choice is to either change what is. So you learn, you change your relationship to life, you change your relationship to the past. So you change your relationship to your colleagues, to your sweetie. You learn something, you evolve. So that's rising to meet your desires. Or you change the desire. You basically wish for what is. The unfortunate thing is, my suspicion is that you are a creator. You love to create. You love to be in the world. You love to evolve in your relationships. You love to create new things. I mean, we really were born to create. If you are someone that wants everything to just be in control and be predictable so that you can just have a predictable same old life, then you're probably in the wrong live stream. Because in truth, our work is with people that know that they want to become the person that can have it all. And part of the challenges in their life is for them to go on the adventure of making their glass ceilings floors. So I want to talk again about survival. Most people who experience a ton of stress, their aim is simply to survive, to find balance. Again, if you're going to settle for simply finding balance, then this is probably the wrong place for you, because the perspective from which I'm answering these questions is, if you ask yourself the question, what's the most incredible thing I can do with the skills I already have or that I can learn that would have me waking up inspired and going to bed knowing that I lived my piece of the puzzle of heaven on earth? That's what our clients and all our followers are looking for. They're looking for the answer to that question. They're looking for the thrill of being live, the adventure, the juiciness, the fulfillment, the meaning, not just to survive every day. And surviving is to find balance. Thriving is to live in the overflow of all things desired. And then you find incredible amounts of energy, and finding balance becomes less of an issue because you have an overflow of energy. Also, in survival, you're blaming your circumstances. So you can imagine how much stress this causes, or maybe this is you. Thriving is where you actually have spaciousness in your thinking, that no matter what is going on, you know how to get back to shaking and baking and being in your flow. And literally, you have confidence that everything you need is going to come to you. Now, it's a process to get there. I can tell you that even this morning, I was looking at my little sheet here. This is full because it's full of all this stuff that I am choosing to do. You'll notice my language, not that I have to do, but that I'm choosing to do. Because really, I could sell my house, take my dog, take my husband, We could all go live on an island and just, there'd be no creating and we could just, But, there's stuff to do in this world. There's things to create. There's differences to make. It's fun. So, and it's not fun if you don't understand the laws of physics. It becomes overwhelming. It's really important that with the emotional piece about sleep, that we understand that stress, the definition that I said earlier, stress, not knowing how to catch yourself up to your desires, not knowing how to become with ease and flow, not knowing how to deal with things that aren't working out the way you wish. When we understand the laws of physics, we know that every time there's something that looks like it's filled with struggle or it's not working out the way we want, physics says there has to be an equal and opposite set of solutions. And at the frequency of the problems, the solutions are not available. So the key question to ask is, what do you do to get yourself to the frequency of the solution? Now, if you were consistently doing that, think about it, there would be no resistance. Remember we were talking at the beginning about resistance? Sleep, for most people, is to recover from the resistance of the day. The resistance comes from fighting against life and not understanding that you're not designed to focus on the problem. You're designed to catch up to the frequency of the answer. The problem's only there to stir the pot, to allow you to be more on your creative journey. But most don't relate to it that way. They're trying to wrestle life to the ground to become more predictable. So, sleep is directly impacted as well when one considers that one is alone. You're on your own. When you have, independence disease, what it looks like is laws of physics don't exist. For some who are listening, it would be like your guides and angels don't exist. For some who are listening, it might be that God doesn't exist or you forget temporarily. And then you start operating like it's only up to you. However, the laws of physics will deliver to you everything you've ever asked for. Because of some kind of contrast or some kind of struggle or some kind of problem you've been through every day, all day long, has birthed in the metaphysical world solutions and things that would resolve all of that. It's actually in the equation of how consciousness works. So if you are constantly trying to fix yourself with problems, and you're constantly looking for the next problem or constantly trying to prevent the next problem, not from a place of inspiration, but from a place of fear. Prevention's okay from a place of inspiration, but from a place of fear. In physics, by being in prevention, you're actually going to cause more things to prevent. You're literally justifying more things to prevent. That's how physics works. What you put your attention on tells consciousness, tells physics, that's what you want more of. So when you're trying to fix yourself, what you're telling consciousness is, hey, I want to find more places that I'm broken. Thinking that by focusing on what's broken, you're going to get to thriving, but you're not. Learning how to thrive is what gets you to thriving. Isn't that why human beings, we've all been in the last many decades trained to excavate everything that isn't thriving? Because we think by excavating everything that isn't thriving, we think we're going to thrive. But the laws of physics say, learn how to thrive. And from that higher frequency, what will happen is anything that isn't thriving will have to leave, and you will definitely sleep better without question. Because once you understand how physics works, it all becomes very simple. It's a very simple equation. So today, just to summarize, let me give you some. So, by the way, we're doing a free workshop on the Thriving Operating System on September the 25th. You all can sign up. I hope this all makes sense to you. It'll make a lot more sense after the 25th. I would love to share with you how the Thriving Operating System works. It's available to everyone. It, it doesn't matter if you're tall or short, rich or poor, extrovert, introvert, it doesn't matter. It's available to everyone because it's physics, the particles that you are made of. So I want to share a few things that can help you in the short run and in the long run for your having more energy on less sleep. The first thing is I'm going to talk about the physical. Don't drink anything caffeinated or red meat. Well, let's say anything caffeinated after about 10 a.m. in the morning. Do not eat red meat after 6:30 at night. That's also very stimulating. Give yourself a ritual of dimming down all the lights about a half hour before you go to bed, and go to bed at the same time every night so that you're matching your circadian rhythm. The more past 45 years of experience in this life you are, the more that matters. Okay? Same time. So the more that matters, it just makes it easier on your body. Your hypothalamus will thank you. Next is, before you go to bed, this is what I say. I declare this day complete. Greater consciousness, or if you like God, or if you like all that is, or if you like guides and angels, depending on what your background is, take command of everything else. And then I write down everything I have to think about in the morning on a piece of paper so it doesn't have to be in my brain. And off I go. Next is, make sure you understand the Thriving Operating System. Because if you do not, everything is always going to be you trying to manage your symptoms, you trying to manage life, you trying to control life, you trying to make it more palatable for you. If you actually change yourself and understand how to have everything come to you, how to make life bend to you, well, it'll seem that way when actually what you're doing is you're opening yourself up to the life that was waiting. How do you actually do that without forcing your circumstances to change? This morning I was thinking I needed all of my staff to help me. And I'm like, no, I don't need my circumstances to change. Everyone I need is right here. I can do it. So work hard if you want. I definitely choose not to, because working hard affects my sleep pretty drastically. I spent a long time carrying other people, worrying about other people. And now I understand that each of us is our own guru, and me literally carrying other people not only disempowers them, but that is a huge stress. And I ultimately cannot foundationally long-term make anyone else happy. It requires them to do the work. And I'd love to show you that work in our free workshop, and bring a friend. So I just want to know if there's any questions about sleep, if there's any questions about, what's going on with their sleep, what's going on with how you can have more energy. Amy said dogs in the environment can really affect sleep too, especially if they want to cuddle one out in the middle of the night. One of the things with dogs, Amy, is that oftentimes I'll give them half a valerian capsule, depending on the size of the dog, to kind of calm all their nerves. I also tend to not feed dogs after about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe 3 o'clock. Our dog only gets fed once in the day, and it's in the morning. And so these are some of the ways you can, and also the other thing is Rescue Remedy. You can get that from any health food store, Rescue Remedy for your pets if they go a little ape at night. All of those things can help. So anything else? Let's see. Robin, if I have a dilemma, initially I will be in my head so that I can problem solve. But now I realize the solutions are a different frequency than the problem. So I step away and focus. So here's the thing, Robin, you focus on something that makes your heart sing. You focus on something that makes you happy. You turn on some music, but it's not just temporary and then you just go back to thinking about the problem. Understand, I'm sure you've had this happen. I cannot tell you how many times I've had this happen. I'll be like days away from an issue that I had, and I'll be days away from it. And I'll be cycling with Adam by the river. And I have to keep my phone with me because so many ideas come through, and most of them are around things that I even forgot I had a problem about it. You got to get way out ahead of your issues, meaning you want to get to a place where you're consistently our entire embodiment workshop is based on this, right, Robin? It's like the system, the thriving operating system for actually being way out ahead, such that literally nothing starts to bother you anymore. You just don't get bothered. It doesn't take you out ever. And you can have that. Everyone can have that. It's not just about managing it. So what I want to say, Robin, is yes, go do something great, but imagine embodying a system of operating whereby you literally know immediately don't engage. Just that's your way. That's basically the way I am. I drive some of the people on my staff nuts because very rarely does something take me out, right? Except for something I was talking about last night. It's like, oh, that's an interesting one. So anyways, I hope that makes sense. Any other questions? Katerina is saying, what about naps? Anyone else sometimes get heavy or just, there's nothing wrong with a little nap? Just, Katerina, one thing I would say is, and by the way, when you nap, you unplug from the problems and the solutions. You literally unplug from life itself. So it leaves lots of spaciousness for solutions to come through. You just got to remember that when you get up, you want to be very conscious about where your brain goes. So I have a habit now that when I awaken, I listen to something inspiring immediately to make sure I get out ahead of my day. So I listen to something inspiring immediately. So, there'll be a future if you don't know what a future activation is, it doesn't matter. But I will listen to one of my besties' future activations. It's like a meditation that we do every day. Jeannie does every day in our community, called Agents of Awakening. So, and I'll just go and read that and then do my own, and that just redirects my energy. I hope that helps, Katerina. Way over there on the other side of the world, I hope you're safe. So what else? What else, you guys? Anything else? Questions, comments? Great, you guys. So I hope this was helpful. More energy requires less resistance to life. Less resistance to life means you have to understand what the thriving operating system is. so that you stop wrestling with life and you start being a person that actually is entirely receptive to life coming to you. So I hope you guys can get your heinies over to September 25th. I know that yeah, it's a really powerful workshop that we're going to do all about this thriving operating system. Manuela, hey girl. Yes to better sleep. Thanks for the information. Any suggestions on the situation I have? Sometimes up to 3 to 4 times per week. I am about ready to go to sleep, and the person I am a caretaker of needs me. Sometimes briefly, often for an hour or more. I might have to go back and forth helping him sit up several times. So what I would do if that happens, if you can't get a caretaker to do that or whatever, if you are the person, is I would for sure take a half hour after that happens to do what you need to do to bring your body down, because that definitely is engaging in life, telling your body that you need to stay up. So it's confusing. One of the things too is I would change your sleep time to be an hour after the usual issue and stuff that person has going on. So imagine changing your sleep time so that you've scheduled it so that even if that person is asking you to help them, your regular sleep time is actually maybe later than usual, so that you can go through the rituals and get your hypothalamus and everybody on board in your body so that your biology can go to sleep, right? So turn down the lights, and you may want to do some of these things with them as well. So thanks for the X's and O's, Ruth Anna. All right, you guys. So I'm going to sign off for now. I hope that was helpful. Remember, we talked about the thyroid and the adrenal stuff. Definitely, for those of you who had a lot of those symptoms, get to your doctor and get your TPO and your TG and your TSH tested on a regular medical blood test. But those things, TSH is usually tested, but TPO and TG are not. So it's asking your doctor to test thyroid antibodies and the TG antibodies as well, and just find out. And then you might want to, yeah, we'll talk about that. I literally think I'm going to do a workshop about Hashimoto's because so many people have it and didn't even know. So, and cortisol levels is what you can test for your adrenals, Amy. So just test your cortisol levels. That's usually a pretty good tell. So, and your DHEA levels as well. So DHEA and cortisol, and even C-reactive protein, CRA, can help as well to see if your adrenals are keeping up with the inflammation in your body. All right, you guys, that's it for now. Thanks for joining us. Hope this was helpful. Love you guys. And until next Monday, really looking forward to it. It's going to be juicy. Yay!